Hi, and thanks for joining me. In this sequence, we'll be focusing on the liver and gallbladder meridians. The liver meridian is the meridian of happiness, and it starts just at the big toe on both sides, moves through the arches and up the ankle along the calf. It kind of dips into the back of the knee here, and then it moves up through the inner thighs, past the pubic bone, and through the pelvis, and then it kind of does this little wraparound at the waist, comes up through the rib cage and through the throat, up past the opening of the eyes and right up to the top of the head. All right, pretty cool. The gallbladder meridian is the meridian of admiration. The gallbladder meridian begins at the outer corners of the eyes. It kind of passes back and forth along the head a couple of times. It moves down the back of the neck, back to the shoulders, down the back part of the rib cage, does this similar little wraparound at the waist, moves down and along the outer edges of the legs, and it ends at the fourth toe on each foot. All right. So cool. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the feet here. So go ahead and come up onto the toes and sit on the heels. Now, it's important when you're putting this kind of weight and compression on the toes, you want to make sure the big toes are right in line. So I like to reach in between the thighs, make sure the toes are in line. They have it. If they're going like this, then you got to show them who's boss and give them new direction, right? I like to also reach back for to grab those pinky toes, get them in the game. And this may not feel good, but stay with it. It does stimulate the meridians in the feet, and it's also really good to get that suppleness back in the toes and the metatarsal and the ankles that we tend to lose over time for whatever reason. When we start to lose that suppleness in the feet, it changes the way we walk, and we'll start to lose that suppleness all the way up. Go ahead and come onto the tops of the feet, and you can sit like this or lift the knees. So you can also put a block or a cushion under the knees, but seriously, if this is enough, then stick with it. And so also, if you're not used to putting this kind of weight on the tops of the feet, put a blanket or something there so they have a little extra cushion. There's no pressure to balance here or come into it at any particular depth, just starting wherever you are right now. That's what counts. I do have my toes together and my heels are out a little bit if you're wondering what you're supposed to be doing with the feet. And then go ahead and come on to the heels again with the toes tucked. Make sure all the toes are in line. And just breathing here. Come onto the tops of the feet again. We'll just do this 2 times each side. I've got, in another part of this app, there's a 14-day challenge where we do this for 3 rounds, each in a minute, each side 3 times. So it's a total of 6 minutes. It's a 14-day challenge, and I encourage you to check that out if you haven't already done that, because it really can be life-changing. I can't give you any hints or as to how it's going to be life-changing. That's going to be totally up to you, all right? Go ahead and take the feet out from under you and straighten the legs. Give those knees a little bit of a bounce here. That's probably going to feel pretty good right about now. All right? And then go ahead and lie on the back. We're going to come into Bananasana, that awesome crescent-shaped pose. So let's go ahead and start by walking the feet over to the right side. When you get the feet as far over as they're willing to go across the inside ankle, across, and that'll keep you grounded. This, if you cross the other ankle, it tends to lift this butt cheek up, so you want to keep both buns down, and then you can start to move the shoulders over, take the arms up overhead if you like. Let me get my timer going here. So you want to get lots of length down one side, lots of compression on the other side. Keep in mind where these meridians are located, this really extra special pair that are governing our happiness and admiration, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. Right about this time, I like to see if I can get that leg just a little bit further and then anchor it, excuse me, and then shimmy those shoulders maybe just a little bit more. And there's no pressure to go any deeper into this, just as long as you're feeling that tension along the side body here. Notice how the body moves as you breathe. So if you think about the liver and gallbladder, they both do that little bit of a wraparound here at the waist. So this is really like any lateral position you can get into is going to extend and compress those, and that is some really good stimulation for these lines, these energy channels. Just a few more breaths here. So to get out of this, move the shoulders back to center first. Bend the knees and then walk the feet back to center. I like to level out the hips and shoulders here, and then take the feet wider and drop the knees in toward each other. This is a good little relief for a couple of breaths. If you want a little bit more in the low back, and then just take an easy twist. Just drop the knees over to one side and then the other. And we'll go ahead and get into this on the other side. Start to walk the feet as far over to the left as you can. And then get that inside ankle crossed, so you're nice and anchored here. And then start to shimmy those shoulders over. You can take the arms up overhead. And I really can't emphasize this enough. Our two sides are different. They will always be different. So embrace the differences rather than trying to work on symmetry. Just notice how the body moves as you breathe. And then if you want to take a moment to maybe get into this a little bit deeper, either by moving the feet or the shoulders. Sometimes I feel like I get into it a little bit deeper and then I kind of spring back to where I was just a moment ago, and that's totally okay too. Just notice where you're gripping. Just do a little assessment from top to bottom and see if you're gripping glutes or ankles or even the jaw. Just let that go. Just here for a few more breaths. All right, so start to move the shoulders back to center. There's no rush. Bend the knees. Walk the feet back, level out the hips and shoulders, and then go ahead and drop the knees in toward each other. It's nice to have that time between shapes just to let the body absorb this new information. And scoot the feet back toward each other and then bring the knees to the chest. So we're going to come into a twist here. You can drop the knees over. We'll start with the knees on over to that right side. Now I'm going to give you lots of options. So let me set my timer. Knees together, bottom leg straight, knees, that top knee all the way over, much deeper experience if you want to stay here. Or you can also come into cat pulling tail, right? So you can reach back for that foot behind you and then either straighten this leg, or you can keep the knee bent, no big deal. But that's up to you. It depends on how hard you have to work to hold on to that back foot, right? So we don't really want to work hard in these shapes. We want to let gravity do the work and get into those tendons and that connective tissue while we are focusing on these meridian lines. So don't work too hard. I'm just going to keep my knees bent nice and easy. I know that I'm getting into that waist area along this outer edge of my top leg. And go ahead and turn the head in the opposite direction. We know that we've got those channels running up the back of the neck and the front of it. So this is also going to bring a little bit of awareness into that area. Just notice how the body moves as you breathe in this position. Let the floor do the work. Last few breaths here. Go ahead and bring the knees back to center. Level out the hips and shoulders. We'll take that twist on over to the other side. And then turn the head in the opposite direction if that's comfortable for you. Helps to take a nice deep inhale here. And just kind of settle into it. Relax the jaw and let the tongue drop from the roof of the mouth. Just breathe into any areas that are gripping. Go ahead and take about 3 more slow, easy breaths. Slowly make your way out of this twist. Level out the hips and shoulders. Bring the knees to the chest, and then we'll rock up and down the spine a few times. Notice any flat spots. Try to smooth them out. You can hold the backs of the thighs, or you can hold on to the front of the shins. Totally up to you. And then let's go ahead and come all the way up to a seated position and take the feet wide, all right? We're we're going to come into a forward fold here. If you feel like it's just so much on the inner part of the legs, you can bend the knees. Tuck some blocks under the knees if you like. This is going to kind of move the femur head out of the way and allow the pelvis to move forward a little bit more effectively. You also don't need to like push it to the max. There's no rule that says your feet have to go super wide. Maybe here is better. All right. So then we'll just come into this forward fold. You can let the back round and let the head hang. You just want to relax into it. You can also rest on some cushions here. As long as it's just a little uncomfortable, then you're doing it right. You want to feel tension somewhere. And by tension, I mean that pulling on soft tissues somewhere, whether it's the inner thighs, maybe it's the hips here for you. It's going to depend on you and your body and what you've done with it up until you showed up here today. And then just come back to the breath. Relax the toes and ankles and legs. And remember, if you back off so much, if you're resting on cushions to the point where you don't feel anything, then it turns into a restorative practice. And this, in a yin practice, you really want to create that perfect level of discomfort that you can sit in without trying to fix it. So just be okay being uncomfortable for about another minute and a half. Relax the jaw. Just a few more breaths here. Then slowly walk the torso up. All right. And then help the legs to move. A perfect yin position should be just a little uncomfortable coming out of it. All right. Go ahead and give the knees a squeeze here. And be sure to take a little bit of time after the sequence, maybe lying on the back for Shavasana, or just simply sitting and giving the body time to absorb this. Focusing on these two meridians is a real gift when we think about their role in our happiness and admiration. So enjoy, and I'll see you next time.